lost it over there. A lot of things got to some people. Some people needed some timeouts, which was totally understandable. But after a few days of, getting to sleep late or just having the pressure off, they were back in the game. It was when we got back here and we were all individuals and the team wasn't together. Because when one person had a bad day, generally a lot of people had a bad day. And a lot of people shared that bad day, and they shared their grief, they shared their frustration, and they shared their healing. But when you get back, especially with a National Guard unit, as opposed to the active duty, we all went our separate ways, and we were on our own, and there was nobody that was sleeping 4 feet away from you that you could talk to. There was nobody standing in the chow line that you could talk with. We were all on our own, so it affected people a lot of different ways. I don't know that any of our soldiers in my unit ever became homeless, but I know several had a tough time dealing with coming back and dealing with what happened over there. It's such an intense thing. It is so totally consuming. And then, you come back here, and somebody tried to, tell me about, we talked about PTSD, and it's like, I said, okay, you get a kid that goes away to college in September, and maybe they get a job so they don't come home during the Thanksgiving winter break. When they come back in May, they're not the same person. They've had different responsibilities. They'd have different liberties. That they've been on their own. Take a soldier who goes away, and for our case it was 15 months between our train-up time, our time over there, our time demobilizing and getting back home, and throw a war in there. And, you're an 18-year-old kid, and you're coming home, and now you're 20. You're not coming back the same person. And you want to come back the same person. You want to come back and be where you were. And that's not going to happen. And a lot of people, when I came back in 73, they didn't accept me for the maturity level I was at 22 years old, coming back from, being a Marine sergeant. And it's very difficult. And it's also extreme structure. You get soldiers, they're 18 years old, 19 years old. They go into the military. Everything is totally structured for the next 4 to 6 years. Tell you when to go to bed, tell you when to get up, here's your 3 meals a day, here's your check, here's your job, this is what you got clean. And then they come back and the structure is totally gone and they're 22, 23 years old. And they don't know how to function. That structure held them together. That platoon sergeant, that squad leader, was shepherding them around, and now no platoon sergeant, no squad leader. And now they got the demons of being over there, and alcohol and drugs, we got problems.
Yep. From a county and city point of view, what are some of the ways that you think we can or are handling that? And that's both Mr. Middleton and Mr. Barnes.
Go ahead, Mark. I'll follow you up.
Well, actually, I was going to defer to you because a lot of the traditional interventions that we think of when it comes to dealing with the homeless population are actually at the county level. Mental health, mental health services, medical intervention, assistance, financial assistance. The city, I think, is an important partner, and oftentimes it's our fire department or police department that will respond to disturbances or medical emergencies. But that's way down at the far end of dealing with the homeless situation. I will say that in places like Durham, where we're so car-centric, there are so many people that don't even realize we have a homeless issue. Whereas in New York, you do a lot of walking or use transportation. You may see a lot of homeless enclaves, or particularly Los Angeles as well. But here, where it's such a car-centric culture, it's very easy to be in an orbit where you really don't see them, particularly if you live in our suburban tier. But we do have a homeless population here, and part of our strategy, Mark, as a city has been to focus on what happens before a person becomes homeless. And oftentimes you'll find folk that are distressed, are housing distressed because they're spending such a high amount of their income on housing, over 1/3 of their monthly income on housing. Some people as high as 50% and better. They're scraping each month. So last year, the city sunk a few $100,000 into a program called eviction diversion, where we pay for attorneys to go with folk to court who are facing eviction. Statistics show that you're far less likely to be evicted if you show up at court with an attorney. You're more likely to have an outcome that involves a payment plan, give you an opportunity to get back on your feet before you lose your home. For folks that have lost their homes, we focus on strategies of rapid rehousing, of partnering with providers and agencies that specialize in rapid rehousing, getting you back in a place with your own keys as soon as possible, and also having mental health providers, again, from the county. This is what's going to be in Levon's bailiwick after he's elected, folk who can help with mental health and substance abuse issues before, my city's police department shows up or neighborhood improvement services shows up to cite you because you've got an encampment in the park and somebody's complaining because you're an eyesore. So, and this really, how we deal with folk who are really struggling and who are most vulnerable, I think, is the truest measure of how great a city is and how great our nation is. This is the wealthiest nation on the face of the earth. Durham is an affluent city, a city on the rise, and I don't think there's anything wrong with finding ways that we can leverage our wealth and our resources to help those that are most vulnerable. Oftentimes, I've dealt with and met folk who they got sick, and they work an hourly job, a wage job based upon hours, and they lost hours because they were sick. It's not that they don't want to pay their rent. They want to pay their rent. Interestingly enough, as much as we think about, Tupac being this tough gangster kind of thug type, Tupac had a line in one of his songs that says, "I love paying rent when the rent's due." There's something about wanting to do right, and most of these folks want to do right. They want to pay their rent on time, but if you get sick and can't go to work and you lose hours and get behind, we've got to find ways to intervene before they're actually homeless, and that's been a focus here in Durham, and I hope Levon will continue to pursue strategies like that once he's elected to the county commissioners.
Yeah, keep manifesting that for me, Mark. I appreciate that.
You like that?
Yeah, keep manifesting it. Question. I'm fortunate enough to be the chair of the Citizens Advisory Committee, which is, I was appointed by the city, which specifically focuses on rapid rehousing and the homelessness issue. And then flipping over to the, as a candidate, I think what Mark hit on with the mental health situation is spot on. It is a travesty that our veterans, when they come home from serving and protecting us from all the dangers of the world, that they come home to nothing. I think that starts with the top, meaning the current White House administration ran on such a thing, but has spent more money on rebuilding the military and has cut the Veterans Affairs budget. At the same time, locally, I think that the mayor, the current mayor, has put. I thought they put some things in place to give veterans the opportunity for housing. And Mark can correct me on that. I thought that was a focus. And then from the Citizens Advisory Committee, what we work with is federal block grants, which is the federal dollars that the government gives to all the states, and it's divided between all the municipalities to help with like urban ministries and other city and county affiliates that specifically house folks who are homeless or have gone through some domestic violence issues and they need rapid rehousing and things of that nature. So we are constantly working on that, and an example of that is, I just came from the McDougal, having an executive body meeting with community development, and McDougal Terrace was brought up, and what we can do as a citizens advisory committee to help with that. And the honest answer is, we really can't do much because we're still trying to figure out what the cost is going to be. And we don't have enough federal dollars. I think we have almost maybe like $5 million federal dollars, or maybe $2 million federal dollars that's within our purview to award different groups. That really wouldn't help the folks in McDougal right now. So we have to do a better job of talking to the folks in the community. I don't think we do a good job talking to folks who are in our DHA housing, and also folks who are living currently homeless, about what are they needing. You run into some folks who don't care to be in a home, that are actually living in a tent. They don't mind. They don't care. But then you also have kids. Like, I have students whose families are sleeping in the car every single day, or they have to stay in a hotel room, or they have to, they're staying with somebody else, but they don't have the means to be able to own a home. What can we do to help everybody get a home or a decent place to live? And that comes with a couple of things. We have to budget, and we have to budget for that to provide opportunities for folks to be able to make enough income to afford a home. Affordable housing is just a term. It's a trigger word, but Mark may be able to afford a house that I can't afford, so that's not necessarily affordable housing. So how can we provide people those opportunities? The mental health aspect of it, we must increase our mental health funds from the county. I think we only give about $18 million in that endeavor. There are a lot of people right now that are sitting in our jail because they have a mental health illness. We spend $15 million on our jail, and then we have folks sitting in our jail because the only way they can access mental health services is to be locked up, because they can't access it outside of that. That is a travesty. That is a human right. We must be better than that. We have to be better than that. Somebody should not have to go to jail to get mental health services. I'm sorry. We should be able to provide folks those needs.
Absolutely, I agree with you on that. One of the other things I'm curious to hear from actually all three of you on this one is that another conversation that I know has been a big conversation in the city, and I would even argue on the county level, is the whole idea of the fight for 15, or getting better wages, like increasing our minimum wage and getting higher wages. I know that Duke has done some work in that category. I believe that Mr. Middleton can talk a little bit about that. Of course, we all know that the artists, of course, I'm a big supporter of Monica Burns and some of those other folks, have been trying to step in front of the city council. And I guess also at some point they may go to the county as well, because they're of the concerns that, they're trying to do their artwork and aren't making enough money to be able to live on the kind of money that they make as artists, whether that's a musician, whether that's a painter, whether that's a whatever, or even a teaching artist, because even some of the teaching artists have been in front of those committees speaking about what they do as teaching artists. And we know that there are teachers that are artists as well, and teachers are also always trying to get their wages increased, and oftentimes they're not making enough money for the kind of work that they do. And I'm sure that Mr. Barnes can talk about that. But just wanted to know all three of your thoughts about trying to increase our minimum wage, because it's become a conversation on a lot of different levels. I know that there's been that cold thing with the public work, with the public meetings that were held last year that various artists came to. Of course, there's been the Fight for 15, where they've been going in front of a lot of the fast food restaurants and things of that nature. But I was just wondering what all of y'all's thoughts are on the need for increasing our minimum wage.
Well, I'll talk real quickly. I believe that the city is on the right track. I think the city has made it a point to provide folks with $15 an hour. I think, and it will rise with inflation, if I'm not mistaken. The county, on the other hand,